Once again, Coach, it's great to kick off a season, getting to spend it with you. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me on.
I know we're not entitled to your time, but I do appreciate it. It's funny because having been around this program and known you for many years before even you were the coach here, I've been around this program a long time. You know, I get to know these kids when they're sometimes in 8th grade all the way through recruiting, and so it's been fun for me. And I'm going to ask probably a difficult question, but an easy one. I love the chemistry, character, and camaraderie about this group. They're just something special about them. Am I wrong?
Yeah, there is something special about our football team this year. That doesn't ensure winning, right, certainly, but I think they genuinely care for each other and like each other. They like being around each other. And everything that they're doing, when you watch them, it's done with high energy right now. So that's a good feeling as a coach. They're going to be fun to coach, and it's going to be very interesting because, you know, right now when we come into this room for workouts and things like that, or a team meeting, you know, we've got a lot of players, a lot of guys filled up these seats, and there's a lot of players here, and a lot of good players.
I was just talking to the Senator, Jim Bowman, a minute ago,
yeah,
and we were laughing about that subject right there that we were just talking about. And I said to him, at this point in his career, he isn't coaching because he needs the money. Neither are you. You're coaching because you love it, because you're impacting people. And that's got to be one of the rewards of having built this program over so long, is you're at a point now you don't have to coach, you want to, and to do it with those kind of kids. Is that extra even more fun?
Yeah, it is. I think that over the years, and this will be our 12th year here, but really over the course of my football career, I think that, you know, some of the guys are a little bit older now, and you know, they're established in their life. They have children and things of that nature. So seeing them succeed on a really, to me, is a higher level, whether that's on the field or off the field, at a higher level. You know, as a family person, as a person in society, those type of things. You know, it's gratifying. I think that's why we all coach. That's why every coach out there is coaching right now, or so many people, not just coaching, but involved in activities with people, I guess I'd say.
You and I have talked on camera and off camera even more. You know it's about winning, but for you, at the heart of Mark Dantonio, the way you were raised by your dad, it's about impacting people's lives. Earlier this year, I was sitting down with Chris Fry, and he's married now, but
yeah,
at the time he was getting ready to get married. Mm-hmm. And he kind of surprised me a little bit. I said, you know, now the marriage is coming, how is your mind changing? And he said, my parents had a great relationship, and I learned from them. But to have left home and saw Coach Dantonio and Mrs. Dantonio's relationship, another great marriage, he goes, I don't know if I could ever pay Coach back for what he taught me in the football field, but more even off of it. Those are the trophies.
Yeah, she'll be happy to hear that. She won't frown at me as much, maybe. Yeah, it's, you know, I think that's important. I think that it's important that our players see us as real people, not people that just come in here and coach and spend the day, you know, clock out, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, the players that come here, they see us as people, they see us as fathers, they see us as husbands. You know, we've had a great staff here. We continue to have a great staff here. We've had a lot of continuity, and I think it's because we have good people. And, you know, that's what we want to attract here, too. We want to have good people as players, high morals. You know, we're going to have problems. I think that's known. We're going to have problems, and we've got to solve those problems, and you know, or correct when there's correction that's needed. But you know, because the world's not perfect, but we're going to try and strive towards not just being good people, good coaches, but good people as well.
But when you hear them talking about the impact your wife makes, yeah, I don't think, and Mark, you know this because I consider you a friend, that's not being patronizing. Becky impacts this program too. How special is it to have, you know this, there's a lot of coaches' wives that don't want to be involved. She is a mother hen. They love her.
Yeah, you know, it's sort of interesting, Hondo, because last year I encouraged her to get more involved. I said, hey, you know, our kids are out of, you know, you need something to go, you know, you need to get more involved. Mm-hmm. So she's taken on a couple guys and mentored them a little bit in particular. And she's helped some guys in certain situations that they need to be helped in, you know, in terms of, you know, we had a couple guys that didn't have their driver's license, you know, one well-known, but she's helped do those type of things for them. But, you know, she sits in the training room a little bit. They got her a pair of scissors, so she sits around and jokes around with them a little bit. She doesn't use the scissors, no liability issues, but she has become a little bit more involved, and I think that's good for our players to see. I think it's healthy. It's healthy for our players to see that, and it's not just healthy for our players, it's healthy for the Dantonios as well, and for Becky as well, because they're an extension of our family.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I think she takes ownership,
yeah,
which is what you want.
Yeah.
I want to. A lot of your guys who are not on your staff who've been in the past are still friends of mine. So I say this with the caveat: this is no disparaging about anyone, but top to bottom, Mark, I think you're entering the 2018 season with your best staff. Top to bottom, I think this is a all-star staff. Am I wrong?
Well, I'm not going to ever say anything about negative. I thought we had a great staff all along, but I do think
I do too.
I do think that when somebody leaves, you're always trying to add something different, or you're always trying to bring something else along, and usually somebody's going to bring something in that's a little bit newer, or a little bit more. There's just a little fresher perspective. You look at things a different way. You look at things, okay, how can we improve this situation or that situation? I know it was tough to be co-defensive coordinators. I know that's tough, but I think the situations warranted that. And you know, really 2 out of 3 years we were double-digit winners. So I mean, it worked, and we had good defenses. But you know, having Mike Tressel be the sole defensive coordinator gives him a little bit more autonomy. We brought Tread back, Coach Treadwell back, brought Paul Haynes back because he had been here, and we brought Chuck Bulla back. So they've all been Spartans, and every one of those guys, all 3 of those guys have been in positions of leadership, whether they've been head coaches or coordinators. So that's a positive, because you have people that have led people, whether it was successful or not at times, they had people skills to lead a lot of people. And there's such a big progression in that. And then you've got other coaches that have been here, and you know, they've opened up their horizons, and we're always trying to do something new or change something for the better, and look at things from a different perspective. And I think that's been part of our strengths here.
I want to talk to you about L.J. Scott. I just like him. He's a likable person,
yeah.
Likable family, good guy. And I said to him this year, prior to spring, I said, LJ, everybody has told me they like you. I've not heard one person say they don't like you, but they wish you knew how good you could be. Then he comes into spring, and all of a sudden guys are like, I think LJ's getting it. He stepped up his work. He wasn't lazy. I'm not implying that, but just the way they saw him. And he said something to me. He goes, you know, I had some teammates come and really talk to me. And Coach didn't just want me back to be back. He wanted me to be back to be better. I saw a step from him maturity-wise, and he wasn't a bad kid. I'm not implying that. That to me says, wow, sky's the limit for him in 2018. Did you see that? Very
talented player, player that played early in his career and had success early in his career. You know, 15th season. Even in 16, he almost ran for 1,000 yards. Last year, probably a little less productive, but probably maybe even better football player. But yeah, I see that. You know, as you get to your senior year, you know, the end is near. And the message to our seniors has always been, you got to have your best year. And sometimes you need to prepare for that best year. So you need to have that little bit extra work ethic or leadership or whatever it is. But I think he's coming. I mean, not that he's got a ways to come. He's a guy that can play at the next level. But but I do think that in every area, we're always trying to get better a little bit in every area, all of us. And I think he's working to those areas for himself.
I want to talk to you about a guy that I think is way underrated. I think he's underrated by fans. I think he's underrated by everybody except the guys in the locker room and the guys in the coaching staff. And that's Khari Willis. Character, player, all around. I mean, he's the kind of kid you want your daughter to marry. I just think Khari Willis is underrated. Am I missing it with him?
No. I mean, he's got tremendous faith. He's a faith-driven person, which I think helps him through adversity. He's got great leadership skills. Comes from a big family, so he's used to sharing. You know, he's got great role models in his parents. Played for a good program at Lumen Christi. Was a tailback, outside backer. Played since he's a freshman. He's a 3-4 student. You know, and he's poised and ready again. Another guy who's going to be a senior to have a great year, I think. You know, I mean, the thing about last year is that we rebounded, and coming into the year, you know, we had to go through every little step of the way to try and regain that confidence. You we're a confident football team right now, and that's a positive.
The thing that hit me, you and I think obviously you're the leader of the program, and I'm close to it, but not part of it. I think I have a good perspective too. I'm going to tell you what I came away from 2018 2017 going into 18. Great chemistry, and this team may be as solid as a unit as I've ever seen them under you. Did you come out of that reading the same thing?
Well, that's what I think right now, as far as, we got a lot of players back with experience. We were resilient last year, bouncing back, so that gives you added confidence. We had some guys that really had great years. You remember now, last year coming into the season, we had not 12 guys with a catch. We had 12 catches coming back. This year we got our wide receiver group is extremely talented. So yeah, I think that from top to bottom, I think our attitude's very good. I think we have chemistry. I think we have ability. All that doesn't ensure winning in this conference. Our games are always seem to be tight. It's just the way it is in the Big Ten conference, let alone the East. So you live with that, and you got to be at your best, and you got to find the inches. You have to continue to talk about the inches and be resilient and try and find those every single moment to try and bring you to those heights that you're trying to get to.
I always talk to you about this every year when we meet, but I like to talk to NFL people and hear them talk about your team. Every single one I talk to, the conversation always starts with Joe Bacci. They love his ethic, the way he plays, his discipline. I had one NFL guy say, you see Joe Bacci make a mistake, you don't catch him on film making the same one again. Joe, how special can he be?
He's an all-around great athlete. He's got a great work ethic. He's a very, very intelligent player. He's got strength, quickness. He's got ball skills. He can be very, very good. I think that's pretty evident.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a football player.
And a leader.
Great leadership skills. And that's what we've got. We've got guys that have come into this program, last year a little bit like, who's Joe Bacci? And all these guys starts making plays, and all of a sudden he's a household name by the end of the season. And I think that could be said with Brian Lewerke, with Felton Davis too, and some other guys. And, Andrew Dow goes into his 4th year playing. There's some guys that, they've got a leg up on where they were at last year, let's just say that.
Last player I want to talk about is Brian Lewerke. Every guy talked about how hard he seems to work in the off season. It sure is a good feeling in the Dantonio home when you go to bed at night with a returning quarterback like a Brian Lewerke, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He's almost 220 pounds now, so he's a guy that I think, when he came in here, is about 200 pounds or 198. He can run, as everybody knows and sees, and he can throw it. He's been very productive. He understands where to go with the ball. He knows our system, so he's been in our system now because he was redshirted with Coach Salem in the same offense. So he's been now, this will be his 4th year in the system. So again, is another guy that's poised, but for a good season, but it doesn't ensure. I think that's the thing that I want to make sure that we all understand here constantly, that, we always need to be on guard in terms of where we're at, in terms of our attitude and our identity and who we are as people on the field and off the field, and what we're trying to do to get better in both areas.
Okay, I'm now going to turn the focus on you, and I know you don't like that, but I have to because I heard something from a couple of your players that I thought was pretty ingenious.
Good jokes?
No. Yeah, I've heard about your jokes, but I'm not going to.
Not good jokes, huh?
But here's what a couple of them have said to me. They said, how you can tell with Coach what he's thinking? And I said, what? How he acts. The harder he gets, you can probably tell we're having success. Almost sometimes when we struggle a little bit, he backs off a little bit, and he's super loving, and he's really supportive. And then I go, okay, so how is he? Oh, he's tough. And so is that a right read of you?
Oh, You've been tough? I don't know. My players sometimes, or our players in the past, they said, Coach, remember when you said this to me? I can't believe you said that to me, or whatever. And I never remember what they're talking about. So I just take it one day at a time here. I'm just trying to live in the present, and I think what I've tried to do for our players, and what I ask our players to do, is try and be a light for people. And so I'm going to do my best every day to try and bring it and try and make it special. And that's what I've tried to do. Hopefully that's what our players try to do. And, you know, usually when you do that, things work out. Mm-hmm. Or you get the best in people. And so that's what we're trying to do here. And it's not that we don't have problems. Everybody, every culture, everywhere in the world today, you see people that seem to be going like this, and all of a sudden they take a dip. Mm-hmm. But it's how we respond when we hit those dips. And I've always tried to be at my very best when we've been down.
Last question about you. You've been doing this a long time. It's what you do, it's your passion, and you love it. You love it. But at the same time, you've made a difference in a ton of lives. So as you start to look back and say, okay, there's a lot more years behind me than maybe ahead of me, which is reality at your age, is it still as fun for you today as when you got started? Because I think it's more fun.
Yeah, it is. You know, I came in here the other day and it was the first day back with all of our players here, and you know, there was a great excitement in the room, just being in the room with them. And yeah, it was good. It was fun. So, you know, I'm going to continue, like I said before, I'm going to live in the present. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy my job. I enjoy having an impact on people, and I enjoy watching young people grow. And that's what's happened here. You know, every year, whether you have a problem or you don't have a problem, you know, you see people grow. And that's all you can hope for. Lastly,
you get a lot of the credit, and you deserve it because you're the leader. You get a lot of the blame, and that's what happens. You're the leader. But I want to ask you a final question about your staff. Good men, men of character, good husbands, good dads. And when you see the impact that you have, but then you go down and see where Chris Fry talks about you, but then he talks about Mike Tressel, or you see players talk about Mark Staten or whomever, mm-hmm. That's got to make you even more proud. Will you talk about the pride you have in your staff?
Yeah, you know, we've had great continuity here. You know, our staff, it's a ripple effect. You know, our staff ripples into the players. You know, one person can't control 120 players. Mm-hmm. You know, so you need to have, you basically have a, you know, essentially the head basketball coach has 14 players. You know, Mike Tressel has 16 players as the linebacker coach. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of, you know, Staten has 20-some players. So, you know, they have a direct impact on those guys. They see them as you said, as fathers, as husbands, as teachers, as coaches, as guys who've played the game or been involved in the game for a long time. So they have a huge effect on our players in so many different ways. So really, when you talk about the success we've had here, which, you know, I think I saw a stat the other day since maybe 2010, we're the 9th winningest program in the nation, or something like that. You know, that comes from our staff, both the coaches that are still here and the coaches that have left. That's all related to staff development, and I'm talking graduate assistants, I'm talking coordinators, coaches, operations people. This is such a big organization. There's so many different facets that go on that people have a responsibility, and without them doing their job, it doesn't get done. So we're very fortunate. We're blessed to have everybody here, and there's a great feeling among our staff that we can have great success here once again.
You have a proud heritage. Your dad and mom were amazing people, hardworking people, people of faith like you are, and I am. You grew up sitting in front of that TV watching football with your dad. Yeah. You knew the impact Duffy Doherty had on college football, breaking the color barrier. Mm-hmm. And I don't specifically want to talk about when you break the record and become the all-time winningest coach, or when you get to a certain number. I don't want to get into numbers. But the fact is, your legacy is one of the greatest to ever be here. I know you don't think about Mark Dantonio, but you do know your dad. You do know what he instilled in you as a work ethic. What does that mean when you look at your career and all that you've accomplished in relation to what you learned from your dad?
You know, my dad used to always just say, be consistent and fair. That's all anybody expects you to be. Try and be consistent, try and be fair, and you know, work through your problems. Complete your circles, he used to always say to me. Say you got to complete that circle. So that's just it's every day. You know, I don't look at it. I try and look at it. You know, what really truly, I look at it one game at a time. In this business, you know, you know, the ball can go flat on you very quick. So I've just tried to look at it very, you know, just like our players. Hey, I want to do the best I can at where I'm at, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, you know, because you've been at many alumni functions I speak at, that you speak at, and I told people, you don't understand, Mark Dantonio is the most unimpressed person with himself that there is. I don't even think that enters your thinking. That's why I asked in the light of your dad.
Yeah, you know, my mom, she's 90. She still shakes her head and says, I don't know how you got to that place. I can't see you standing up in front of all those people talking like that, you know. So, you know, I'm just a hardworking guy that have been blessed throughout. Sometimes, you know, I've had some tough situations that I've had to deal with, but you know, just a guy from Zanesville, Ohio, trying to do the work.
But integrity, I think integrity. If I've known you a long time, long before you're the head coach, I think integrity has been your bedrock. I've watched you, Mark, in times you could have lied, and nobody would have known, and you didn't. I've watched you. You could have made promises to kids in recruiting, and you wouldn't do it. And they've told me that you wouldn't do it. And I think at the end of the day, integrity wins, doesn't it?
Well, I hope so. That would
well, your record would prove it.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah. I think it wins with yourself, and that's all that really at the end of the day, you have to feel good about yourself in everything that we do, whether it's you or anybody else, and you can live with yourself. Doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. But you do your best you can, and you live with that. So that's really what I do. That's what I try and do.
Well, I'm around the program every day. I love covering a group of great kids where the narrative, if you want the truth, bunch of great kids working hard, great staff. I think none of us knows what the record's going to be, but it's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, it'll be a fun season. You know, we got a lot of work to do, though. A lot of work, a lot of challenges ahead of us, but I've said it, I can't tell you how many times I've said it, just watching our players work out in the weight room or on the field, you know, moving around, that kind of stuff right now, or in spring practice. You know, there's a good feel about our football team right now. And we've been through some tough times, some tough moments, you know, as a collective group and as a university. But, you know, when you come out of those tough moments, because you've been through those tough moments, you come out of it stronger. And if you can do that, you know, you get better. And I think that's what our football team's feeling.
I agree. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Appreciate you, my friend.
Go Green.